We've got a Japanese motorcycle sitting on the pole. That is the Doug Chandler Kawasaki. Qualified this motorcycle at 84.2 miles an hour. Doug riding the number 10 bike, a teammate of Scott Russell. So those bikes will start at the very front and at the very back in the 60-mile, 25-lap race for some of the finest riders certainly in the world and absolutely in North America. Okay, here is Scott Russell at the very back of the field, starting scratch, 41st, getting some last-minute advice. He has 25 laps to work his way to the front. Believe me, that is going to be a tough tour indeed. But first, let's learn a little more about these motorcycles.
Superbikes are primarily 750cc four-cylinder machines built by major Japanese manufacturers. Now, in previous years, the AMA rules required that a superbike be based on a street bike sold in the USA. As of 1990, that rule went out the window. Now they can be based on a street bike sold anywhere in the world, and for some of the manufacturers, that has really opened up the door. This is the Kawasaki Ninja, ridden by number 10 Doug Chandler, the series point leader. Now, you'll notice, especially in the fork area, the difference between this bike and the Super Sport we showed you. These are called upside-down forks. They're far beefier in the clamp area, far more rigid, and give Doug better control of the motorcycle. Notice how much more front brake there is. The bike weighs about 380 pounds, and 58% is on the front end, so that's where all the braking is. Now, you'll notice here's a rule that AMA enforces strictly. This breather tube goes from the crankcase up to the front of the bike. If the engine starts to get tired and is oiling, Doug can see that problem before he gets oil under the rear wheel. Now, the engine produces about 130 horsepower. The bodywork is not production plastic. It's fiberglass, which is about 50% lighter. Now, the big thing as far as stock is concerned is the frame. The frame under the motorcycle is essentially the one you'd find on a street bike. This one has been dipped and polished, and it's real pretty. Now, another big difference is at the rear of the bike. Notice how small the brake is. You don't use the rear brake very much at all. The big difference here, this is a quick change wheel. If Rob Muzzy, the crew chief, and his guys are really on their game, they can put a new wheel and tire under Doug in about 13 seconds.
This is going to get interesting. 5 major manufacturers, Ducati, Yamaha, Honda, Kawasaki, and Suzuki, and some of the finest riders in the business ready to go. 60 miles, 25 laps around this 2.4-mile road course.
And there would be no scheduled pit stops at just 100 kilometers. So Muzzy and all of these teams hope they don't have to find out how good their quick change rear wheel is. All right, the start of the Wiseco Superbike 100, and look, from the back, Scott Russell has already passed